So just checking that we have sound.
You know when.
Okay. Wait for the nod.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I think the road is actually good though.
Yeah,
It's been a crazy day today, I'm exhausted already. It really has, it's been a busy day.
Sorry.
So you can hear me from where I am?
Yes.
Excellent. So I've got us after 6 o'clock. So I want to welcome everyone to our open board meeting and acknowledge that I am talking to you from the traditional territories of the Silk people. I had hoped to be there this evening, but a fire on the Coquihalla connector that shut down all traffic meant I had to join you online. So if I get a motion to, first, I would like a motion to appoint our Assistant Secretary Treasurer as acting Secretary Treasurer for tonight's meeting so that we can then, any bylaws that need to be taking place, she'll have the lawful authority to sign.
Jepson and Chenoweth.
Okay, anyone opposed? Carried. Now I will take a motion to accept the agenda as circulated.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? Carried. Now the minutes of the open meeting held March 12th, 2025. Motion to receive.
Motion, Washington.
Any errors or omissions? Seeing none. Anyone opposed? Carried. Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, we'll go to our reports. We have the report of the closed meeting held March 12th, 2025 for information. And Courtney, I'm now going to turn the room over to you for our presentations that we have for tonight.
Okay, so we have both of our unions, CUPE and BCTF, are here to present. Krista, do you have anything to project?
I did give it to Cassie. Yes.
Okay, do you want to just come up and have a seat here?
Okay. So this is a presentation regarding the budget considerations that have been brought forward, which will be coming up on the 16th and 17th as well. Next slide, please. So CUPE 847 has approximately 160 members working throughout the district. We work in student services, clerical, maintenance, and IT departments, and we deliver and support the everyday needs of all the students within the Nicholas School District, Nicholas Milkmead School District. Next slide, please. There we go. Oh, sorry, too far. So we are dedicated to the well-being of the individual students, and we are committed to supporting the vibrant and public school system that we have right now. We believe that strengthening and improving the frontline services for students should be the basis for decision-making, even and especially during difficult budget conversations like we're having right now. The 847 executive is a democratically elected body with a mandate to represent the membership on the issues that impact us as workers in the school district and in the communities where we reside. We're here today as the body with the frontline experience on how decisions made by the board and management directly impact our student experience. We share the priorities of the board in ensuring that student safety and inclusion are maintained and improved upon by the decisions we are making at every level. So the district and management rationalizes budget cuts due to declining enrollment. So FTE funded enrollment declined from 2,177 in 2019 and 2020 to 2,049 in 23-24. However, 24-25 is budgeted at 2,271, the highest in 6 years. Management proposes a budget cut in which CUPE roles represent 29% of the overall proposed cuts. So between 21 and 22 and 23 and 24, the district added 13.4 FTE positions, half of which are union support staff, representing an increase of approximately 5.5, sorry, my apologies.
Yeah.
5.5 to union support staffing. During the same period, non-union support staffing increased by 71%. So looking at this, we know that it's important that the frontline staff are there to provide the needs for our children and to make sure that they're fully supported, right? So for example, if we flag a strong start location for possible budget cuts, this program supports families with young children, in particular accessible for families with limited resources and children, and it sets up children for success as they move up into our student body. Additional investment from the district over and above the ministry grant indicates a recognition and commitment to the importance and program in the community. Children who actually go to Strong Start to start with do far better than students who've never had any access to that. So what alternatives have been considered before cutting frontline staff? We do share the district's stated values of holistic support, safety, and mental health, and we've done a really good job in supporting our students so far, and we want to see that continue. So student safety and inclusion is impossible to prioritize when cutting the staff who deliver it. Now, this information that I have in this slide was all based off of publicly provided documents off the site and other places, but we do welcome questions as to what's presented.
And so I will open the floor up for questions from trustees. And since I'm looking at a really small screen, you can help me out by either raising your hands or someone there just watching the room. I would appreciate that. And also want to thank you up front for the presentation and the material that you've given us as we work through our budget discussions over the next month and a half, but open for discussions. Any questions people have? Trustee Chenoweth.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've got a question. When you said non-union staff increased by 71%, where do you get that?
This was all taken from public documents. My CUPE representative for National did gather that information for me.
You mean in this district, 71% increase in non-union staffing?
Yes.
Okay.
I had a question about the 13.5 FTE. Like, is that teachers exempt and CUPE, or are these CUPE stuff?
CUPE specific.
Oh, it's CUPE specific.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had a similar question about the 71% because I don't know what that 71% is based off of.
I can get that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
It would be helpful to know on ratios too, because if you have a smaller cohort of people adding one or two, you know, if you have 10 people and you add two, that can be 20% right there. Where if you have 100 employees and add two, the ratio is different. So, and I'm just wondering if that number also takes into account the vice principal position we cut this year, or if that it may not be there simply because we only cut that recently.
Yeah. And I can get to that for you as well.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions?
So there's obviously a difference in the number of FTEs. Are we aware of whether that number is in brick and mortar schools, or are those more online skies type of kids making up that giant jump? Because that feels, I'm not sure where those numbers are coming from.
I believe it is across the district, and so that would include guides.
Okay. Are we able to drill down into that and find out if that, because it's just such a big jump, as you said, it's a different, you know, it's a huge jump in the last 6 years. Is that jump specifically related to Skies versus?
It could be. It could also be, I believe that the Indigenous support advocates joined CUPE at that time. But I don't know if that would affect the FTE. I think that was already taken into account, but I can check that too.
Okay. Because it would be strictly students you're speaking of there, right?
Yeah.
And when you said it, and I might have misunderstood you, when you said it was from the budget? So they pulled that number from the budget or they pulled that number from statistics?
I believe it was from publicly available documents, so it might have been from the budget and statistics.
Okay, so if it came from the budget, it may be what we were projecting our students would be.
Mhm.
Which is totally fair. I just don't know where it came from because we're down in our brick and mortar. So yeah.
The number just doesn't seem right.
The other thing to perhaps look at when you're looking at the increase in budget is that also reflects collective agreements over the last 5 years. I think it was over 5 years. So there's that piece too, when you look at the increase in the budget, as well as looking at how much we've drawn out of surplus over that number of years too to maintain programs. So I think balancing those two will be helpful as well. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. So thank you for the presentation. If you could make it available to trustees, I think Cassie has it, so she could send it out to trustees. So we also have it for our deliberations. And would you be okay if we shared that with our rights holders as well?
Yeah, you can share it with the right holders. And like I said, I will get you the research that we have to go with it.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
thank you. Thank you for the presentation tonight.
Thanks for coming, Krista.
And I think you said we have a second presentation from the president of the local teachers union.
Yeah, so Vince Kennigan and Trina Mulend are here to present. Okay, okay.
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me here. Jacob, so nice to see you here. Wonderful. Nice to see that you're involved in your athletics and in the school system and growing up so well. I'm Vince Canigan, president of the NBPU, and I'd like to thank you for giving me an opportunity to provide some feedback on the budget on behalf of the teachers. There's a significant reduction to the number of teaching positions in the proposed mitigation plan. I'd like to take just a minute or two to provide some context on what percent of the SD58 budget is allocated to instruction according to the BC government's district revenue and expenditure tables. Currently, SD58 spends 74.9% of its budget on instruction. Out of the 60 school districts in our province, there are only 15 districts that spend less by percentage. The provincial average on expenditure on instruction is 83%. The median allocation is 80%. We're well back on both measures. I'd also like to look at the trend in our district over the last 6 years. And this is the graphic that's up right now. Spending on instruction has declined steadily from 79.5, which was pretty much median in 2019-2020, to 74.9 for this year. Further reductions will impact students and teachers, as we can all anticipate larger class sizes, fewer dollars spent on resources, and fewer supports provided by non-enrolling teachers. I ask that you look at all 4 function areas and see if you can find a more balanced approach to cutting costs in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. Questions for the presenters? I think you said Trina and Vince were there.
Yes, they are.
I was going to speak next.
Okay.
Thank you.
Play musical chairs. There's a time limit, so I thought I could. No, first of all, I just want to say Happy International Day of Pink. And my name is Trina Mullen, and I'm president of the Princeton District Teachers Union in Princeton. And this slide that I brought, it's the only slide I brought. I believe this quote that you see on the screen reflects how a teacher perhaps breaks down the framework for enhancing student learning, or FESL's guiding principles, especially the focused on intellectual, career, human, and social development, and recognizing the individual learning needs of students and fostering equitable and inclusive learning environments. Other educators from Princeton would like to be here tonight, but they may be watching the live stream from home instead. I can share some feedback that helps to view the numbers, often discussed during the budget process, like we saw in the previous slide that Vince showed us. More as personal stories. My comments will now reflect feedback that I specifically received from Princeton teachers in preparation for tonight's board meeting. Teachers and support staff work hard to create a community where everyone feels loved, welcomed, and valued. This can be challenging in classrooms where there are diverse needs and unmet needs, which can sometimes create spaces where not everyone feels safe. Crying, screams, express frustrations, outbursts. To give just one example, one teacher had a class with many complex learners, such as students with autism, others awaiting diagnoses, severe behavior designations, and English language learners. The teacher told me how their class transformed entirely through the addition of another education assistant. With the additional support, they were able to focus more on the academics, and students really flourished. To be clear, this teacher was not complaining. They love their work and they care about their students. They just wanted to communicate how much they appreciated the support of education assistants and how vital they are to ensuring all our students get what they need. Our students need sports. I heard that more than once, and the required transportation to participate in organized sports with our neighboring communities. As educators know, students need to Maslow before they bloom. In other words, they need to have their physiological and psychological needs met before they can reach their full potential and start to excel in academics. Teachers embrace the growth they witness based on the individual students they know. Our town, Princeton, has minimal resources to support families, and our schools are where resources are found. Our schools provide tutoring and lunches, breakfasts, emotional support, self-regulation, and love. There is no public transportation in Princeton. Support for students with exceptionalities does not exist in our rural community. That means that families of a higher socioeconomic status are able to access needed resources by driving out of town. Families from lower socioeconomic backgrounds can miss out, as can our vulnerable students. We have no preschool, so kindergarten is both kindergarten and pre-K. If we consider a split class at the kindergarten level, we are preparing to provide a complete disservice to our students. Data shows kids as numbers or as a color, red, green, yellow, but they are individuals, they are stories, they are so much more than the number of colors that the data shows. Teachers want those who don't get to see these smiles and tears and meltdowns to know how important our jobs and educational assistants are. They want people to know how lucky we are to work with our students and see them grow and change and become better people and the people they want to be. They want people to know that although our education system is run like a business, it is not. It is the future. These students, our schools in our district are important. It matters. They matter. We are all aware of necessary budget cuts during these difficult times, but cutting educators and those on the front lines is not the answer. It is the kids who will miss out and the teachers who will burn out. Teachers ask you, the decision makers, to think of the optics. Princeton schools, staff members, and their students hope to feel seen in the future budget announcements to come. And I did share with Courtney and Harold like a compilation, just feedback that I got on many pieces of poster paper. And I just kind of consolidated that a bit more into like top priorities when it came to teachers being asked about priority spending and where to invest or to continue to invest, especially with recruitment and retention in mind. Supports needed to meet student needs, as well as mitigating and cost saving strategies maybe that are already in place. And then I just connected them back to the questionnaire we got from Harold and Courtney that really referred back to our strategic plan. And the top priorities that teachers mention are the exact ones. They're just really easy to correlate with those headings. So when teachers mention we need a full-time counselor and maybe one in every school, that's about connection. When they mention supports and educational assistance, that provides meaning and purpose to when you're approaching that academic matter and just navigating the academic setting. Incentives to hire new staff, that's about appreciation and respect and creating that culture. Interventions for literacy, also about meaning and purpose, as well as psych ed assessments for students when teachers request them. Also educational assistants fall into that, but also with that connection piece. Collaboration time for professionals to get together during the school year. That's also about appreciation, respect. Teacher literacy reading groups, meaning and purpose. Increased technology budgets for classrooms, like 1-to-1 laptop ratios, again, meaning and purpose. Connection, maybe hiring contract TTOCs, so we don't have those gaps that we're trying to fill in as often. Also field trips, big one, and organized sports. Again, those connection pieces that allow us to connect with the communities around us when we're a bit more rural and dispersed. And kind of putting them all together, meaning, purpose, appreciation, respect, and connection, just those people on the front line, making those connections and doing that work. So thank you on behalf of the Princeton District Teachers Union. It's a real privilege to get to speak on their behalf because they're hardworking folks. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trina. One of the ones I just wanted to touch on before we open it up is when you talked about sports. I don't think there's anyone on the board who disagrees with that need in small rural communities to be able to go out to those other communities for sports, simply because we only have one high school in each end of the district, and we have pushed with government for a number of years to look at funding sports differently for rural communities because it simply costs more. We know that a Kelowna or the Okanagan or Kamloops can run programs within their district quite easily, but if we want our children to have that experience and be competitive, they do have to travel out. So I think that's something where working together to talk with government about how they fund rural districts would be helpful for all of us. You had mentioned counselors, and I think that's another one where when we look at what's in collective agreements versus looking at early childhood indicators and other ones where we have felt that too, because they're not funded based on actual needs or size of districts. And we also don't have economies of scale of Surrey. So I do take those into consideration, and I will as I hear that, but I wanted to hear from other trustees as well and questions for Trina. So open it up. And if we could pull the slide down, then I'll have a picture that's bigger than a thumbnail. Thank you. John.
Thank both of you for your presentation. And we are going through a difficult time, and you provide very powerful insights. So thank you.
Thanks for welcoming us. Yeah.
I can say from my perspective, all of our union representatives and our rights holders, these are very difficult conversations, but I feel like we've had really productive conversations and really tried to listen about what the priorities are. This is difficult for all of us, but you know, I think it's important that they're advocating for their members. But I appreciate the relationship that we built going through this. None of us would cut anything if we didn't have to. We're talking about people's livelihoods and jobs. It's a difficult time, but I've just appreciated the feedback and the help and, you know, the transparency and honesty that we've had with our different groups as we've gone through this. It's amongst the most difficult processes we can go through as a board and a senior leadership team. So I appreciate the open, honest relationships that we have as we move forward through this. So thank you.
There've been good meetings, good budget meetings.
So I'm not seeing any other hands raised. So thank you both, Vince and Trina. We will take those definitely into consideration. And I know as trustees.
Got a hand, Gordon.
I was just.
Got a hand? I'm staring at a very small screen, so just let me know where that hand is. Must be Jamie. Thank you, Jamie. Sorry about that.
No problem. I was just gonna say, because I haven't been at I know that Dave's been part of the budget meetings, as have you, I believe, Gord. You guys have attended those budget meetings as well, and
Not together.
oh, not together,
Yeah,
but
separately.
yeah, okay. Yeah, just there's been good turnout and good talks and that sort of thing. Has it felt collaborative to you?
It has been really good to be part of that conversation. It makes it a lot easier to sort of get the feedback that we need to really sort of get the whole picture. So it has been a very good thing.
Okay. And you guys feel similar, like it's been a good process to be a part of?
Yeah, because I think it's ongoing and it started a little while ago. I would be lying if I said it wasn't stressful because it's all still numbers and kind of vague and it hasn't really tapped anyone specifically on the shoulder yet. And so that's the place where everyone I think is just holding their breath a little bit. So that, you know, I appreciate opportunities like this to kind of let folks know what folks are thinking of and to bring that communication forward. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being a part of it and for sharing your versions of it.
One more, Gordon. Trina, when you talk about the BK and kindergarten, you were talking about, Jay, help me, where do the strong starts fit in all of this?
Not being parents, excuse me, I don't know, like, are strong start up till age 3?
No, Strong Start is birth to kindergarten.
Okay, okay.
But it is a parent, it does require an adult caregiver to be with the child. So if a child had 2 working parents and they were in a licensed family daycare where, for example, that daycare facilitator could not bring 6 kids to Strong Start, they wouldn't have access to that. It is free, it's a free preschool program that is really great for a lot of kids, but not every family can take advantage of it.
Okay.
And thank you for answering. That answer.
The words, you know.
Thank you, Jane. And so I'm just staring at my tiny screen again, because every time my voice comes on, I get this little picture. Any other questions? I don't think I'm seeing any there. So if I've got that right, thank you again. And thank you for moving the camera over so I could see people, because normally I just see from John down. So if I see no other questions, thank you for your presentations. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the board meeting. If there's other things that you would like to do tonight, by all means, we won't feel offended if you happen to leave. There's not a Canucks game on where they score 3 goals in the last minute, so that's a plus.
No, thank you. Drive home while it's light out.
Thank you. You guys.
Thank you very much.
Very safe.
Thank you, guys.
And I believe the next item is our Indigenous education report.
It is. So Angela is actually at the Inspire Empowerment Gathering. So she's gone with 4 of our ISAs and approximately 16 kids. So they left yesterday and it looks like a really great opportunity for our kids. I have to say, Angela is doing very well in her position. You know, she was a little nervous about the transition, but she's been wonderful as an addition to our senior education team. So very grateful. Nicola Camford's loss was our gain. So is it all right if I move on to the early learning?
Yes, you can work right through A through D.
Okay. Just going to highlight one thing from Daniela's report. Daniela is really involved with our different literacy associations and our schools about doing really innovative events, especially around literacy. And one really fun thing that they're doing at John Allison is Once Upon a Book Tasting. So they relate it to different food items, and they're going to be having a pizza dinner, but making that connection between, you know, what we read on the page and then something that's a hands-on experience. Very lucky that we have Daniela, who works so hard and so well with our different partner groups. She's really brought a focus to our early years and early literacy, and she's doing some really great work in our schools. She's very humble, and she gets embarrassed when I say that, but I just want to recognize the good work that happens from our people in our district. And then Misty is actually here and is going to take us through a presentation. She always does an excellent job and highlights the world of inclusive education.
I'm on the mend. Thank you very much. Thank you all for having me today. I just want to start off by saying that after my presentation, I'll do a little assessment of learning. And because I am very inclusive and we know that we can show our learning in lots of different ways, I will accept a written response, a play or a skit. I'm not open to a very tasteful limerick either, so please feel free to And the reason I say that in all jest is I really appreciate the way that education has evolved and the way that we're able to, like inclusive education, include all students, and there's lots of different ways that you can show your learning. And when I think of doing an inclusive education report, and I think about, as I go through my things and the 67 acronyms that my department seems to have, I will try to be very mindful and say the acronym and then and make it super clear, but feel free to let me know if I missed one along the way. So to start off with, I had submitted my board report before I knew I was going to present. So if you're able to pull up my report, it's fine. It's my only sort of visual that I have, but the reason it was actually going to be the focus of my report, because I didn't know I was going to be here in person, so I've added some things. But to speak to this one, it's actually a really great thing that's been added to my education. So when competency-based IEPs came out, CBE IEPs came out a couple of years ago, we were actually one of the first districts to kind of jump on board and implement them. So we're into our third year now, and they're going really well. I'm part of a CBIEP provincial group, which is a really great working group that meets every couple of months to talk about what's working well and what isn't working well. And one of the things that the feedback we got over and over again as a group was that the reporting piece was pretty onerous. Student support service teachers, SSTs, were needing to create templates in order to report. There was nothing available in MyEd, which is the platform that this district uses and many districts in our province use for student reporting. And so that was brought forward to the Ministry of Education and Childcare. And finally, what has come out, and I think this is really a beautiful document, is what we were using before was great. We used the work of Jenny Williams, who is amazing, who did our audit and CBI workshop in October, and the work of Shelley Moore to come up with a template. But what it meant for student support service teachers, case managers, is they were taking goals and objectives, cutting and pasting them into a template, and it was quite a bit of work. What I love about, if you can see this progress report, which I made a mock-up of a student named Misty Sheldon. The nice thing about this is it looks just like a learning update. And it's a progress report specifically for students with a CBIEP. It talks about their goals and their objectives, and it's all pre-populated, and student support service teachers are able to just go in there and make a comment and make an overall comment, and then also put the proficiency on the side, which again aligns with our learning updates. And I think from an inclusion standpoint, that's a really great thing. The other nice thing about this is, as we live in the digital age, this document can be uploaded on the student and parent portal, just like learning updates can. So there's that capability as well. And I wanted to highlight it because I'm really excited about it. We're doing a soft rollout this year because it is still something new and something that people kind of technically need to be able to get used to. So yeah, and that was going to be the highlight of my report. And I just thought it's a really nice thing when you look at it. I'm really appreciative of the CBIEP provincial group and their work to make this happen, to have it in MyEd now and be a part of an easier way to report on student progress throughout the year. As I move on I wanted to share a few more things today. As we are in a time where we need to be creative, and I'm a very firm believer in our students do as well as our teachers and support staff are doing, and the more that we can educate them and provide them with professional development in a time when that's really hard to be able to provide release time, I'm always looking for creative ways to be able to do that. And one of the things that came out is BCPC SEA, so the BC Public School Employer Association, created a 4.5-hour course for education assistants to kind of give them the nuts and bolts. It's called Inclusive Education and Understanding Behavior. It's free to any education assistant in the province that works for a school district, whether it be private or public. They just need to have a district email to sign up and do the course. Well, that's lovely. The course, I vetted it. I talked to I'm part of an inclusive ed group. They all love it. It's just a matter of how can we provide the time for our education assistants to do it? So we're still kind of working through that. But in the meantime, as I still have been the last 2.5 years hiring education assistants, what we have done is put this course as part of their onboarding course. So when I hire a potential EA and they come through and they do great in their interview, their references are great, and I'm able to offer them a job and they're able to accept that job, this is now part of their onboarding. So they need to complete this course. They get a nice little certificate at the end, and it's just a little boost. We all do better the more we know. And the course is really well laid out. It's easy. I've had some feedback from some recent hires, and they really appreciated the opportunity to dive in and just kind of have that foundation going in. So that's something that I wanted to share with the group. Another thing that I think is really important to share is the WIAT 4, the WIAT 3, which is the Wechsler Individual Achievement Test, is a test that student support service teachers have relied on to support students who you might have some questions about, might be struggling, and it gives you information on to create a plan to move forward. This WIAT that we've been using for the last 15 years is in dire need of an update. It was updated in November. I'm really pleased to say that we were able to move forward right away. Best practice says if there's any new standardized test that's going to be used province Canadian-wide, you have about 18 months to be able to implement it to make sure that you're in line with everyone else and what they're doing. So we were able to move forward with the WIAT 4. I was able to offer training to student support service teachers through a school psychologist, and then some follow-up training with myself so that people could become familiar with it. It's a really amazing, like the upgrades are actually quite astonishing compared to what we used before. There's a couple things that's a little more 2025. No, the SSTs do not need to lug around a 50-pound computer anymore and use a CD-ROM and set everything up and work with a whirring computer in the background. Everything is kind of kept on a very secure site, which is really nice. The other nice piece is with Skies and supporting our distance learners that live all over the province. We were able to move forward with a telepractice. So our case manager, student support service teacher at Skies, is now able to administer this test to someone in Prince George. And that's actually pretty great and a nice service to be able to provide students and their families. And that wasn't the case before. So the feedback I've been getting from the reports that are coming out, there's a few more subtests on it. It's really detailed, really robust a tool. And I'm really happy that we have them in the hands of schools right now and they're being used. So that was something. I've got 3 more things. Am I doing okay for time? Okay, I appreciate it. Okay, I'm good, thank you. So to build on the inclusive ed audit was in one of my board reports before, and I spoke to it earlier, that we had in October when we had Jenny Williams come in, who was amazing, and we caught her just in the nick of time because she's retiring in June. To build on that work with the student support service teachers and the principals that we did, we are now performing our own internal file review. We've assembled a district team, and I'm about a third of the way through, and what I'm doing is going to schools. I'm asking for 2 files, and we're going through them for quality and compliance. And the reason we're doing this work is really good learning, not only for us at this table, but for student support service teachers and then for principals. How are we doing? We need to be ready at any time for an audit. But we also need to have these documents to be really meaningful. I'm drawn to Jane's red thread analogy because sometimes you can look at a file that is just, I have a bit of a reaction to it, and in a really good way, because when you see goals that match diagnosis, that match a support planning tool, which then everything is informed, and then you read the report card and you can see where that teacher understands that competency-based IEP and everything just moves beautifully, it's a wonderful thing, and it speaks to the good work that is happening in school teams. And sometimes there's some things missing, and there's an opportunity for us to learn and to talk about it. And sometimes it's oh, I didn't know that should be there, or I didn't know this needs to go here. And sometimes it's a different conversation, but it's been really, really good work. And I think the student support service teachers, like, it's really nice to get some feedback on my files. Sometimes, like, I've never had anyone really need to look through my files, and parents can ask for them, they can look through them. We have something called a vault where we keep these, they're sacred documents that we hold on forever. And I'll go back in and I'll have somebody need a test or an assessment from 10 years ago because they need something to help them move forward in a job they're trying for right now. And I can't speak to how important these documents are for students and families. And so to make sure that they're really done, not only to be compliant, but to have quality attached to them is really important to me. So I'm really enjoying the work. So that's hopefully going to be wrapped up at the end of next week. I have two more quick things. Through when we had Erin Schweitzer here, who was amazing. She was a health promoting school person. She was also our nonviolent crisis prevention intervention trainer, CPI, which is really important work that pretty much every school district offers to support EAs and principals and student support service teachers to be able to have the skills and tools they need to de-escalate big behaviors. So when Erin retired, one of the CPI rules is you have to have someone in the district. You can't bring someone from Kamloops to come in and do the training. So we have been without someone for a year now. I'm happy to say through a special purpose fund, I want to give my gratitude to CUPE because they supported training Lisa, and Lisa's going to be able to get this training and be our new CPI trainer. And we are looking forward to the next 2 professional development days coming up in the 24-25 school year to be able to train and retrain our education assistants because the certification is good for 2 years. So I'm pleased to say that that's been taken care of. And my very last thing, I'm stealing Angela McIver's thunder a little bit because I couldn't have done this without her. She's been an amazing addition to the team. But we know that the Indigenous Student Engagement Facilitator, that role has been split. And over the spring break, Angela and I did interviews. I'd like to publicly express my gratitude for Shane Cooley for joining us for those. And we were able to move forward and offer Tracy Dunsmore the position. Really happy with the experience and the skill set she's going to bring to the role. She's a retired RCMP of 34 years. She has really good connections in both communities. She worked in Princeton as well. So she's got breadth of knowledge there, and she has a master's in Indigenous education. And so I'm really looking forward to, we're working on some onboarding right now, and our focus, Angela and I both, are having these 2 great people, Rose and Tracy, to be in schools more and being really connecting to kids and families. And we're really pleased that that work is taking place too. And that's it. That's my presentation. If there's any questions, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Questions? I'm not seeing any questions. I'm just going to make a quick comment. When you talked about the files being compliant, in my previous life with BCSTA, we'd often see where when the ministry did an audit and say we'd only look at 10% of the files in a district, and for simplicity, if 4 of those 10 files failed the audit, they didn't look at any more files. They just said that's 40% of your funding that you have to pay back. So although that's a lot of work, really making sure that those files are aligned, both for the students, but also from the other end in terms of it's really difficult in a small district if all of a sudden somebody wants $400,000 repaid, even though we know we did the work, but we can't find the document in the file. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you.
Oh, it's awesome, this.
The piece I would add is Misty is phenomenal in her role, and I'm very modest, which is basically how my team is here at our office. She really searches out knowledge. You know, she's willing to help neighboring districts. She's hands-on in the school. I really can't speak to how lucky we are to have her in this role. We're very lucky as a division. We have a very solid team, you know, from our EAs, our support staff, our teachers, our admin, and our senior office. You know, we're a small district. We do the same amount of work that the large one in Surrey does, but you know, we do it with fewer hands, obviously a smaller scale, but it doesn't diminish the work that gets done. So just really thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Courtney. My work. Anything else? You stop with my big font.
Okay, so we are on to my superintendent's report, and I got smarter. I put them on everyone's desk this time, so I don't have to pass them out. Our admin did a great job. From the last board meeting until this board meeting, there is only about a week and a half of school. And they really put together some phenomenal pieces, which I think really highlights how much goes on in our district in such a short period of time. The first 2 pages represent different French cultural activities. So there was a concert, there was some Indigenous drumming, and really highlights the French immersion program at both Collettville and MSS. And then at the bottom there, you'll see Science Fair. Science Fair has been a major endeavor in all of our schools for the last couple of months. And I really have to give credit to Bert, who really spearheads this operation. There's a lot of organization that goes into it. He doesn't do it completely on his own, but he's the one that takes the lead on this and makes sure that it's good for kids. So if you look at the next page, you'll find out that we had 4 silver medal winners. We had 11 bronze and then 4 cash award winners, totaling 475. So we represented very well in our region. And it's a great opportunity for our kids to interact with students from other elementary schools within our district, but then also within our region. And our kids did a great job. I was lucky enough to come when we were doing a final piece here in our office and got a chance to go walk around and interact with the kids. Our staff works incredibly hard to provide opportunities for our kids. So just a big thank you to them. Looking at JA, there's always lots of fun things going on there. The one I was going to highlight is they've installed a buddy bench. And if you don't know what a buddy bench is, it's a program where if you're feeling lonely or isolated or you need someone else to reach out to, you have a seat on that buddy bench and others come over and support you. And it's really meant to reduce bullying, but also just feeling included. You know, some children are very outgoing and others are more introverted. So just a really nice piece that they're doing there. And the staff works very hard at JA to make it a warm and welcoming environment. When you walk in the doors, the kids are happy, like they're excited to see you. But I have to say, really, if you walk into any one of our schools, our kids are friendly, they're polite, and they're welcoming. And that's not always what you get. So I think that really speaks to the good work that goes on in our district. Looking at Nicola Canford, one of the things I was going to highlight there, they've been practicing their Ninja Warrior course for a month and there was a competition. There's always great, you know, connection and physical activities going on at Nicola Canford. Looking at Collettville, I really wanted to highlight the work of Madame Sigurdsson, Madame McKay-Smith, and Burlett. We had one of our teachers go on leave and we've really struggled to be able to hire a temporary teacher and we've had to reorganize our timetable there. And these 3 ladies have stepped up and they're doing a phenomenal job with our grade 6 and our 7 classes. That is a very hard thing to do mid-year and they're doing a phenomenal job with it. So I just really wanted to give them a shout out. You know, we have hard things that happen when people go out on leave and French immersion is especially difficult to replace those positions. So just a real credit to them. And, you know, in sharing that class, you know, there's some work that comes from collaborating and working together as well. So just really wanted to highlight that piece. Diamondville always has their grandfather teaching, but rugby season is the big news. And you'll notice when we get to bench, they also mention it as well. But you know, great that we're keeping our kids active and busy and giving them opportunities to play sports that they may or may not have had an opportunity to do. PSS, probably our biggest news story there is we're running a trades and training program. So for the next 12 weeks, starting after spring break to the end of the year, we have 16 kids in the program, and they're going to be exposed to elements of carpentry, joinery, plumbing, and building construction. So it really gives them a taste of different trades that they can do. And that's a partnership with Okanagan College. We haven't been able to staff a shop teacher there consistently this year. So we really felt like that would be a good opportunity for our students. So, you know, they at least get to touch on that piece. Looking at Vermilion Forks, the grade 5s were learning how to use microscopes, how to do samples. And you know what, whenever it's hands-on in science, they're always very engaged with it. So just nice to see that those skills are starting early. And I have to give a shout out to Kevin. He did a phenomenal job with his submission this time. Took lots of pictures, highlighted the interactions with the other schools, highlighted that they have some intermediate rugby going on there, but the one I really wanted to highlight was the primary literacy centers. Bench has some of our best results in terms of literacy, but it comes from a lot of hard work. You know, a lot of parent volunteers, a lot of collaborative planning, but their efforts are making a real difference there and teaching kids the love of reading and the love of books. And then last but not least is Merit Central. Natasha always does a phenomenal job putting this one together. The one I chose to highlight just because it made me smile, the K1 class for Mrs. Meadows. They had a PJ day and teddy bear tea. Just lovely to see those connections. And Miss Meadows is doing a fantastic job. You know, and a real credit to Natasha of how she brings forward such a positive and inclusive culture in her school. There's really some great work going on there. So.
Thank you. Any questions for the superintendent, or I thought John and Dave might want to comment on rugby, but perhaps not.
Good to see.
I was there that day. Nicola Camp did pretty good.
Is it done now?
No. I think they play Friday in Princeton, actually.
Oh.
Excellent. And of course, not being there, I wasn't able to get the report, and dropping out at the last minute to be online. You haven't had a chance to send it to me, but if our staff could get me a copy, I'd be ever appreciative.
I did email you a copy, Gordon. So
Thanks.
Word from last time, so I did send it.
Yeah, it's a highlight, you know. Next is I have no other questions. I don't think I see any for the superintendent. So unless Dave was scratching his head, I think that's all that was. So Riverside Learning Center update.
You're getting closer to the end of the project. When it will be finished is still a little bit up in the air, but we have a solid schedule if we're able to stick to it. We think that we'll finish on budget and within the timeline we provided. As we get closer to the end of the project, we have to be in communication with the ministry about when we project we will be done, and then when the grand opening happens. So there's a piece where we work together with the ministry for that.
I'd still like to know if we're going to be able to get a meeting with the YMCA people to just meet to discuss.
So Lynette came back down to the community, but it was my understanding it was during spring break. So I don't know when she's in town next, but I can talk to Danielle about potentially setting one up.
Maybe nice.
Okay.
For staffing for it, I guess it's up to the Y, right? Are they well on the way for that?
So because they're in a little bit of a bind right now because they have to know when we're going to be licensed and when the official opening date is, but they have started the process of collecting resumes, and I think they've started interviews, if I'm not mistaken. So for this project, what we will essentially become is the landlord of the building, and then the Y is responsible for the staffing and the operation. The wages have come up, are significantly higher that the YMCA is going to be able to offer. So I think we're hopeful there that they will be fully staffed, because that has been a challenge across the province, making sure that you have the right certified staff. But Daniela and Lynette, I think, are pretty confident that we'll will be staffed and ready to go. And Doug is working very hard to make sure that we stay on budget and on time. So, and the last time we were able to do the tour, it's like come night and day. Like it's gonna be amazing when it's finished. Yeah, and the paving went in, so Daniela sent new pictures, so it's looking more and more closer to a finished site, which is really positive.
And just a reminder, the program pricing is set by the Y. We're, as the superintendent said, we're really the landlord on the project. School calendar and Pro D days. If you remember back in the fall when Trina from the Princeton and District Teachers Union did a presentation, we made a commitment to pull together a group to look at both the school calendar and the professional development days. If you remember, we kept the current calendar, but made a commitment that we would look at that. I did talk with Leah and John about being our two trustees on that committee. And so our timeline on that again is we wanted to have something back to the board by November, which would be a report by October. So with staff support for Leah and John would be getting first the terms of reference put together and then those various meetings. So I just wanted to, we've talked about it, but just wanted to make sure the public understood that. And so Trina also knew that we are following through on that commitment as we promised. So that was my update on that. Which will bring us to audit and finance.
So in your board package, you will find the background for the annual facilities grant. So we've been approved for 794,000 from the ministry for upgrades. Quite a few of these projects are either a continuation or another part to projects that have already existed. But our next step is we actually require a motion from the board. Before they can release the funds, we have to show that it's gone to our board, you're aware, and that we passed a motion. So I would just ask for a motion at this time.
I'll move.
I saw the two hands there. Any other discussion? Anyone opposed? Carried. That moves us to the capital plan bylaw.
This one is pretty straightforward. Harold has requested two motions for this one. If there's no questions, I think we could just go ahead and make the motion or motions.
I move that we allow all three readings of the capital bylaw first.
Okay. So we've normally done first and second and then had a motion to move to third reading. I don't think there's going to be any problems with that. So if we get first and second, mover and a seconder.
Yeah, move that.
Seeing that, anyone opposed? Carried. And then we need unanimous support to go to third reading. So a motion to move to third reading.
Move to third reading.
A seconder. Anyone opposed? Not seeing that. We're now at third reading. I'll take that the mover and the seconder to go to third are also the mover and seconder for third reading. Anyone opposed? Carried. And next is the 2025-2026 preliminary annual budget update.
So what I would highlight for you is when Harold and our budget working group started this process, we were looking at a projected deficit or the need for cuts in the range of $2.5 million. We were able to bring that down to about 2 million at our last board meeting. Now we are starting to see the benefits of the significant cuts we've already made this year. We cut surplus budgets to the school. We've cut positions in our district office. We've cut a VP position, and we've also been helped by increased enrollment at our online school. So the good news story is instead of having to cut 2.5 million, we're down to 1.5 million cuts, or 4.7%. So it's a good news story wrapped in a bad news story. So the financial picture is better than what it was, which will help us move through this process. And And we've been working very well with our partner groups and our right holders, keeping them abreast of the situation from the very beginning so that none of this is a secret, it's transparent. But we're happy with the progress we've been able to make. We have difficult decisions ahead, but we have way more leeway than we had a few months ago. So good news story overall.
Mhm.
And if you could announce the dates and times for the meetings in Merritt and Princeton for everyone who's watching.
Sure. So if you are interested in attending our public budget meeting in Merritt, it is April 16th, starting at 5 p.m. and it's here in our boardroom at our central office. And then on April 17th, it's in Princeton at PSS in the library. And again, it starts at 5 p.m. If you're not able to join us in person, it will be live stream on Zoom as well.
Okay. Thank you for that. I don't know if there's any questions for the superintendent, but I do want to express my appreciation for the budget working group and also for the partner groups and the rights holders who've been with us throughout the process and providing us feedback. I think that's been invaluable to us, as it's not an easy place to be in, but certainly we'll have a better outcome because of that input and the work from the working group as well. So want to thank them publicly for that. And I'm not seeing any questions. Oh, I'm seeing Dave.
Just if I can just go back to A and B on the audit, I think the public should know that the capital projects and the AFT dollars that we got, it's almost $2 million for our community to keep our schools clean and safe and healthy. So yeah, just thought they should know that that's the dollar amount that's coming to the district.
Thank you for sharing that, Dave. I think that's a good thing for people to recognize. And we're grateful to the ministry that they continue to provide this funding. You know, that means work for people in our communities. And just overall, we appreciate the investment in our schools.
Okay, not seeing any other questions, so we'll move to policy. We have second reading for 4.1 through 4.5. If you just wanted to briefly talk about those, Superintendent Lawrence, for those listening in.
So where we are with our policy work, we think our last meeting will be April 15th. We worked through Jane and I worked through the agenda with Anne. So we're just working our way through bringing our policies through our first, second, and third reading. The reason why we have no first reading this time is we didn't have a policy meeting between our last board meeting and this one. So these are policies that have come forward. So our process of what we do is it goes for first reading. If the board chooses to do a motion to pass it, we send it out for feedback. If we don't get any feedback, we move it forward to second and then third reading. So we worked through our pieces with HR, which is basically our section from 410 to 450. So respectful working environments, employee recognition, teacher professional development. And then when we look at our third reading, one, we had animals in schools. It's from the 300s because we still required some work on that one. That's why it's a little out of sequence in terms of the numbers. And then section 5, we're looking at things typically around students in our schools and safety pieces. So bullying and harassment, severe allergic reaction, provision of menstrual products. So those are the kind of things that you would find in that section. Our committee has done a really good job of going through these policies, providing feedback, and we have a broad group on our policy committee. We really appreciate the amount of time that our partner groups and our right holders have spent working through this process with us. I think these are much more user-friendly documents than they were in the past. And we're moving towards that system where we start creating admin procedures as well that go with these.
So if we could get a motion for third reading 3.8 and then 5.1 through 5.6, that would be in order. I think I saw Jamie move her hand.
Second.
Any further discussion on them? Then they are carried.
And then our last one that we have on here is our third reading for the appeal bylaw 5-23. This originally went to the board last year, and then the second and third readings just got missed. So we brought this back to our board meeting last month, and then it's coming forward for its third reading tonight. We will have to update the dates at the end of the bylaw just for when we sign it, because it's originally says from 2023, so we'll need to update that. But just asking for a motion to pass our appeal bylaw.
So a mover and a seconder. Moved by, I think that's Justin, seconded by Dave, I think, or Everett, or Jamie.
Jamie.
Okay. Anyone opposed? That is also carried. And then you've, go ahead on the administrative procedures.
Just for your information, Barb and I are starting to work our way through this process. Because we started this before we did the logo change, Simone is also helping to make sure that we've updated this so it's on the proper template. We just want to make sure that we're doing a good job with this. So it's taking a while, but we're working our way systematically through our admin procedures. We have a number to do. Barb and I are drafting them together. But I think it's going to put us on a really nice footing as we move forward as a school district.
They look great.
Okay, and that brings us to our student trustee reports.
So I would like to once again welcome Jacob and let him know how grateful we are. Hayden sends her regrets. She is unexpectedly delayed at an appointment today. And in Kamloops, she and I attempted to share a PowerPoint that Eric has got under control, so it works. So what I will explain before we start is the question that I posed to the student trustees was, given that we were in a time of budget considerations, I know that kids have been able to explore things that might be considered extras, the extra stuff. And that's something that will be on the table for trustees and district staff to consider moving forward. Hayden was going to speak to and present a PowerPoint on her recent trip to Costa Rica, which was supported by the board. Justin also has some things to share. So Hayden's not here, but her PowerPoint is. Jacob, sorry, goodness gracious. Jacob. Hayden's not here. Yeah. I got mixed up. Hayden's not here, but her PowerPoint is. So I believe Eric will be able to, Cassie will be able to share. Can you? It is. So students from MSS, parents, teachers went to Costa Rica over spring break. So you can see they arrived in Costa Rica at 10 p.m. Costa Rica time. Pretty exciting flight. I'll let her speak for herself as I was not there. Everett's son was one of the people that participated there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Just keep working it through, Cassie. Thank you. So Adrienne Milan was one of the parents and staff who participated in the trip. Randy Sheldon, Molly Brigden, a number of other parents, and Adrienne certainly spoke to it being a trip of a lifetime and an experience of a lifetime for the kids who were there.
With action-packed days, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it was busy.
It was busy.
A lot of people got sick.
Yeah.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
Including Adrienne, like, I think they all came home sick almost.
Oh, no.
Yeah, pretty once in a lifetime. I know like Brody's version of it is lots of rice and lots of early mornings and full days and being exhausted at night and then realizing, holy cow, we're getting up again already.
Yeah.
That airports are big. Like is like I think they had to go through Toronto, right? And they're dispatched out of there. So I think the kids were amazed on how big actually Toronto was.
Oh, wow.
And then actually to go to their first hotel, they had to go there by boat and not like a boat, like by a boat, like single file, these little boats with all this stuff, like, what are we doing? So, yeah, no, so I know for Brody, it was, you know, we go to Disneyland in Mexico but that was something different, right?
Yeah, totally.
That experience changed his perspective on certain things, like one thing he took away from it was how the people of Costa Rica live a very simple life. And it's not as complicated as maybe we make our lives out to be, and man, do they have something there, right? So it sparks things in their minds that they may not get that perspective from hanging around a minor, right? So anyways, that's
That's
just part of
great.
it, yeah.
So one of my daughters also traveled to Costa Rica. She was in grade 9, a lot younger. And they spent the most impactful time that they spent was living and staying in a village in homestays. And I can tell you that Zoe has kept in contact with the family and the people, friends that she made in that village, and that was impactful from her from a life perspective. She has continued to be a traveler and continues to prioritize that, I think, because in part of those trips. My other daughter was able to travel with MSS to Peru and spent a lot of time working with children in a hospital orphanage that I think changed her fundamentally as a person. So thank you to Everett and thank you for Hayden for giving you a little glimpse into that experience. And Jacob is he's really taken on some great questions and talking to his peers around what the other stuff, the extras that we call them, brings to kids. Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah, so I was just gonna talk about a couple of opportunities the school should look at doing again for students. I am unfortunately missed going on that trip to Vancouver we talked about earlier. All the Indigenous students were invited to go, but I asked, a lot of my friends went, so I asked them on how it went, and they said it was an awesome trip, mainly a great look into their post-secondary opportunities, as well as just getting to hang out with each other and experience some of the performances that happened. Every single one of them said that the school should definitely look into doing it again, and that they loved the whole thing.
Right on.
And then,
How many went?
so I'm not sure, but out of my friends, like around six,
I think he was 15 or 16.
yeah, there's quite a few that went. Yeah. One thing that made a big impact on me was going on the band trip last year to Vancouver. All of us got to work with professional orchestra directors from VSO. They changed the way most people in band looked at music and how we connected to each other. We also got to show our talents to other schools outside of Merritt, inspiring like younger audiences to join the school bands or continue playing with them. And even share some experiences with Big High School when we each performed songs for each other, like back to back. And then band trip was the best trip I've ever been with the school, I guess. I believe the school should keep having these trips and hoping those who might not get the opportunity to go so they can experience it as well.
Yeah, it's really good.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Thank you.
I think one thing that's really important to note is that sometimes schools, it's a privilege to travel. It's a privilege to be able to travel to Vancouver and stay in a hotel and experience things that sometimes schools are an access point for kids. And we can't lose sight of that, especially during times when things are hard financially.
Yeah, like some of my friends have never been there the first time, like, and then they get to experience all that with it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. And I know we also hear from kids where it was their first ride on a ferry or first ride on a plane. Some things we take as travelers for granted, but that experience out of the community when you're in a much larger metropolitan area. So, and having kids who went through band, I agree. Those trips and what they learn and what you get with the individual instruction down in Vancouver is tremendous. And we do have a couple of people from our prior bands who are now in symphony orchestras over the years. And so that's great to see that too. And you never know when that's going to happen or spark that interest. So thank you, Jacob. Other questions or comments for Jacob?
Thanks, Jacob.
So we'll move to, oh,
I was just gonna say, thank you for that feedback, because part of the work that we do with our Indigenous Education Council is give them feedback about different trips that they support. And we've had really positive feedback from our post-secondary trips and from some of these other ones that have come along. So it's nice to hear from a student point of view that you're finding it beneficial.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, I just like that they get the opportunity to see what they can do in college or universities. It was unfortunate that I didn't get to go, that's why I would say they should do it again.
I'll bring that forward because I would agree with you. A big part of this is, you know, people may not be able to access these things on their own. So like
exactly.
Mrs. Kempston was saying, you know, an opportunity to go with your friends with that safety net, because when I went to university, I went to the orientation, but I went by myself. I didn't know a single person in the group, and that's really intimidating sometimes if you're coming from a small town. So the fact that we're going as a group with familiar people, I think is an amazing piece. And what Hayden showed in her PowerPoint, I've done travel club with kids before, and what I found is it opened up different experiences for kids, but for a lot of kids, they may never have the opportunity to travel internationally if the school doesn't do it. There's a lot of hard work that goes into planning and all those other pieces, so just really a credit to our staff that step up to go with them. Those are forever memories that you create, and we always underestimate what that travel schedule actually looks like. You go to bed late every night, you get up early every morning, and by the end of the trip, most people are sick because that's not what everyone is used to. But still some of the best memories that kids will have. You know, students that I have taken to trips to different places, they still talk about those. So just a real credit to our staff and our kids and our parents that step up so that we're still able to do this.
and Dave, I think you had a comment.
Just if we get maybe a report on that, the April 7th, April 9th, maybe not the next board meeting, maybe the June one, because this is that would be kind of cool. I probably have it in their report. Yeah. But maybe some of the students could come. I don't know.
I can ask her.
This,
Put them on the spot. Go ahead, Gordon. Sorry, I'm just.
that's okay. I thought you were just doing a segue into your trustee report.
Oh,
This round.
is that me? Am I next?
It's them.
You want me to start?
Yes,
Hey, John Allison. Looks like there could be 30 to 40 new kindergartens down there, so the pack they're all like pretty excited. They've got a kitchen that they're trying to get started up down there with a space that Daryl has said, clear this out. We'll see what we can do about raising some funds. The pack is really like, we want this, so. They also asked for some data from benchmarks and the meeting and exceeding and all those, and so Principal Larson printed out information for them and went through each grade, and so they were very excited about it and asked a lot of questions about it. But they also, in the grade 2, it was quite noticeable that they were talking about the COVID kids and how there's all the other ones from fall to spring would increase in their abilities, but in that cohort of kids was still struggling. So that was great that the PAC was interested in that. Okay, they had great numeracy and literacy events, which is the one you were talking about, which is they've got 2 of those, April 30th and May 28th, that taste of the books, but they also have strength early years to kindergarten events coming up as well. They've done a lot of skating and swimming, of course, coming up. The buddy bench is really cool. That actually was in place for a few years, and there was a little boy that said, hey, they're not using it. Maybe I should tell the Ks and ones what it's about.
Aw.
And he did. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And at my pack, I did go over the AFG and the capital projects. The parents really seem to be interested in what's going on in their schools, right?
Yeah.
So, and I did push the meetings for the dates for the budget. So there you go. It's a cool school.
And we'll go to Dr. Chenoweth next.
Okay. I had the opportunity to attend MSS for Gordon last night. And they only had a very short meeting, but they had approved a couple projects that teachers or programs wanted sponsorship for. One was a band trip sometime in May.
Is that from here? Yeah, that'll be.
That one, I think they're staying at a hostel,
Okay.
right? I said rubber mattresses, but and they have some pretty amazing things planned, like working with the symphony and getting one-on-one coaching, which is pretty amazing, right? And I think they're performing somewhere on the way down. No?
I believe we're not performing it.
Okay. Well, they're doing a couple things with the symphony. I think they're gonna hit Stanley Park. And well, he knows more than I do. But the PAC did agree to support it, so that's a wonderful experience for them. And the other one was for $2,000 for another kind of field experience, soccer, some kind of soccer gear and stuff like that. And you were right. The principal was sick, and she did state that the trip was amazing and that every moment of sunlight was used, and the students were busy from sun up to sundown, and everyone was wiped at the end of every day. So, but that was good. Gordon, I told him that you would send him a report after the board meeting, and they look forward to getting that.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for attending for me.
No.
We'll move to.
He's got another.
Got one more.
Hullabill PAC is tomorrow night.
Oh.
Sky's PAC was tonight. So I sent a report to them, and I've already got the minutes because they're so prompt. But they did book something very exciting. They do a lot of activities for students, but they booked this person named Salima Noon, and I don't know who that is. Does anyone know?
Yeah. She's a sexual health presenter, I believe.
Okay. So they're booking Salima Noon in May sometime for the Sky students, which is organized by the PAC, so I really commend them for that. And they're doing a whole bunch of stuff like hats and toques, and they're sending them out to all their students in May. But thanks, Gordon.
Thank you. And we'll move over to Justin next.
Sure. Diamondville, our last meeting was before our last PAC meeting, and we meet, I think, next week, so no report from them. But Central met last night, and a lot of conversation was around Eagle Bay fundraising. I think the grade 7s are really looking forward to that annual trip. So that took up a lot of our conversations. PAC was excited to finally receive some outdoor seating that they had ordered, I think, pre-flood. It's been a couple of years that it's taken to get the right one ordered, and different distributors, and then we had some turnover at PAC, and it's just taken a while to finally get it. And I think they arrived at the board office here earlier this week, so I think they're looking forward to those getting installed on their playground maybe next week sometime. So they're excited about that. The calendar for their school for Central from now to the end of the year is packed. One of the highlights though that they are excited about is speaker coming in that's engages with the kids through drumming. He talks about perseverance and dedication because he was part of an accident where he lost an arm. So he's a drummer that only has one arm. His name's Jack Thomas. So they're looking forward to that presentation. I think coming up either this week or next week. So yeah, that's central.
And for bench, upcoming presentations that Mr. McGifford is looking at booking is digital literacy and privacy opportunities for the 6-7s, and that's tentatively looking at April 18th. And then cyberbullying and online personal protection for the 5, 6, and 7s on April the 22nd. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jamie.
All right. So we had our PSS PAC meeting last night. The PAC was able to give some more money to a couple of teacher requests. One being the Spain and Portugal trip that a number of the kids are going on. So we were able to give them some money for that. They're also doing a fundraiser dinner on April 24th for the Spain and Portugal trip. So anybody wants dinner, you know, I'm sure there'll be tickets, but the kids are really excited. And they're meeting, they're doing quite a lot of fundraising. A couple of parents have really stepped up. I've been helping out where I can, and it's been really good to see the kids, you know, coming together and working towards planning for the dinner and getting ready for that. We were also able to give some money to go towards purchasing grad gowns for PSS, because I guess they've been renting them for the last for as long as I think they've been doing them. They've been renting them, which can lead to some issues with timing and availability. So this will be really nice because the school will just have them and they'll be able to use them for, you know, years to come. Some of the parents talked a lot about the trades and training program that was mentioned in the superintendent's report. The kids absolutely love it. They're having a fantastic time. They're really excelling. Kids that felt like they were a little bit lost have really been able to find interest and creativity in the program. They're currently tackling woodworking, making things like chairs, which is better than I could do. I struggle with the IKEA ones. So it's really fun to see kids just being really involved and engaged in that. Along the same lines, a couple of the parents talked about how the issue with the shop teacher is still up in the air. And they're really, really hoping that they can get a shop teacher reliably in there, because a couple of them, and I asked if I could share their story. They've got kids that have recently graduated, and they said that the shop program was just a huge deal for their kids and probably the only reason they graduated. They basically said that both of their kids have now moved on to jobs in that field where they may not have been as successful without the program. So they're really, really advocating, well understanding the struggles that are being faced. They're quite familiar with it, but just putting it out there again, how important that shops program is to so many kids in that school. So it was really nice to be able to hear those stories and again, be able to share them tonight. And then the biggest thing is that PAC really needs some new blood. We need new members. We're down to about 2 parents on average right now, and one of them will be moving on next year. So again, hopefully with the grade 7s graduating and coming up, we'll get some of the parents out of VFE that maybe want to participate in PAC here. We're a very easy PAC. We don't do any fundraising. We usually go out for dinner after. So it's lovely. It's easy. It's relatively quick. So, you know, I promise, come to our PAC. Shout out to PSS PAC. They're doing really, really good work with the, you know, the numbers that we have. But yeah, that's important.
And Trustee Hoisington.
Angela Camford was scheduled to meet, last night, but that's been rescheduled, so probably for next week.
Okay. And are there any other reports? Not seeing any. Go
I have
ahead.
a question. Well, maybe I'll do it in the close, but actually I'll do it now. It's just the camp on the river by our daycare. So I was just wondering if the board, if we could get together and maybe put a letter to the town and saying, what plans do you have for this, or you know, because it's right below our daycare center, and I think we should do something. So, what do you think, Gordon?
I would not be opposed to that. I think we should be bringing that up. And I recently saw down in I think it was in the Fraser Valley, where municipal government hadn't taken care of things, and things were happening around Bandlands, and it was 5 or 6 First Nations came together on a cleanup. But I think we need something where that camp doesn't become a permanent fixture down there, because one of the things I would worry about is drug paraphernalia and young children, even though they're supervised, something potentially happening. So I would not be opposed to us putting together a letter. And maybe in that we could ask for a meeting with them so we can discuss what the plan is, as opposed to just saying, come up with a plan. We might want to be participants in that plan.
That would be great.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we could just take that as direction, Superintendent.
Yes, I wrote it down. We'll work our way through it.
Okay. I'm not seeing anything under correspondence, and I don't see anyone left in the room there for public question period. So I will take a motion to adjourn and then give us a couple of minutes, say 5 minutes, to reconvene in the other meeting. Moved by trustee Chenoweth, seconded by Kent Laidlaw. No one opposed. Carried. So good night to the public, and I'll meet everyone else in our closed meeting.
There you go. Thank you.
He's easier to sign for it. I think you should be able to. I'm pretty sure it's these.
Hey, Jacob. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Take it easy, man.
Yeah.
You gonna go play some music?
Yeah, you have to sign.
Sandy.